In 1950, there was a small town in America that maps barely bothered to name. The locals called it Willow Creek, a forgotten railroad town tucked between endless cornfields and long, empty roads. Trains rumbled through, but they never stayed. Nothing ever stayed, until that year. Back then, America was loud with confidence. The war was over, the future was bright, men wore hats, women wore dresses, and everyone believed tomorrow would be better than today. But Willow Creek didn't feel like the rest of the country. There was always something paused about it. As if the entire town was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Life ran on a strict schedule. Every single morning at exactly 6:30 a.m., the factory whistle blew, a sharp, metallic scream that cut through the morning mist. Every evening at precisely 6 p.m., the church bells rang, their familiar peal echoing across the fields. People loved their routines. Routines made them feel safe. They were a shield against the unknown. Then, that summer, a man arrived. He was a whisper, a shadow. No one saw him get off a train. No one could ever quite recall his face clearly. All anyone knew was that one morning, a small, dilapidated house at the very edge of town, a house that had been abandoned since the Great Depression of the 1930s, had its lights on. A warm, yellow glow seeped from its dusty windows, a beacon in the pre-dawn gloom. The man called himself Mr. Harold Finch. He was a peculiar figure, always clad in a thick brown coat, even under the sweltering July sun. When he bought groceries, he paid in exact change, his coins clinking precisely on the counter. He spoke softly, his voice barely a murmur, and he never, ever asked questions. Within a week of his arrival, he had officially rented the old, forgotten house. And then, he began his walks. Every single evening, at the exact same time, he would stroll through the town. At 6:12 p.m., as the day began to fade, Mr. Finch walked. At first, people only noticed the little things, the tiny glitches in their predictable world. Clocks would suddenly stop, but only for a fleeting moment, a single tick of the second hand missed, before carrying on as if nothing had happened. Radios, tuned to the evening news, would crackle with static, swallowing the anchor's voice for just a second. Dogs, usually territorial and loud, refused to bark when Mr. Finch passed by their fences. They'd just whimper and retreat into their doghouses. The children said strange things, too. One afternoon, a young boy named Tommy Hensley was helping his mother in the garden. As Mr. Finch passed on the street, Tommy looked up, his face pale. He whispered, "Mom." "That man walks like he's already been here." His mother, startled, slapped the kitchen table and told him not to talk such nonsense. It was the kind of thing you dismissed, but couldn't quite forget. But then, the disappearances began. They weren't the dramatic kind you see in movies. There were no police sirens, no frantic searches. They were quiet, unsettlingly quiet. Old Mrs. Caldwell, the baker whose cinnamon rolls were famous across the county, failed to open her shop one morning. When the sheriff finally checked, her bread was still warm in the oven. Her purse sat by the door, untouched. She was simply gone, never to be seen again. A week later, Frank Miller, the town's night watchman, vanished during his shift. His flashlight was found standing perfectly upright in the middle of the street, its beam switched on, pointing at nothing at all. The sheriff, a man who preferred easy answers, insisted people were just leaving town. "It happens all the time," he'd say, shrugging. "People move on for better jobs, better lives, but no one ever saw anyone leave. There were no moving trucks, no farewells, no forwarded mail. People just weren't there anymore." By August, a thick, palpable wrongness had settled over Willow Creek. The factory whistle, once a bastion of reliability, started blowing late. The church bells rang early, and some days, they didn't ring at all. The routines that had once been a source of comfort were now fractured, unreliable. Fear began to seep into the community. People started locking their doors before sunset. And through it all, everyone noticed the same unnerving pattern. Mr. Finch was always outside, on his evening walk, whenever time itself felt strange and broken. One evening, a 16-year-old girl named Evelyn Parker decided she'd had enough. She had lost her father in the war and wasn't afraid of much anymore. She had a quiet strength, a defiance that burned behind her eyes. At exactly 6:12, as Mr. Finch began his walk, she slipped out of her house, barefoot, and followed him from a safe distance, using the shadows of houses and trees as cover. Mr. Finch walked his usual route, past the darkened schoolhouse, past the diner with its flickering neon sign, past the silent post office. Then, he did something different. He turned down a dirt road that no one used anymore, a path that led to the old, abandoned quarry. As Evelyn followed, the air grew heavy, pressing in on her. It became quiet, the kind of absolute silence that hurts your ears. Then, something impossible happened. The sun stopped moving. It hung in the western sky, a painted orange orb, refusing to set. Birds, caught in their flight, froze in mid-air like feathered statues. Leaves, drifting down from the trees, hung motionless, suspended in the space between branch and ground. Even the wind died completely. The world had become a photograph. Evelyn tried to scream, to let out the terror that was building inside her chest, but no sound came out. Her throat was tight, her voice stolen. In the dead silence, Mr. Finch turned around. For the very first time, she saw his face clearly. His eyes weren't menacing or evil. They were just a calm and incredibly, anciently old. "You're not supposed to follow," he said, his gentle voice cutting through the unnatural stillness. Evelyn's strength evaporated. She fell to her knees on the dirt road, tears welling up in her eyes, only to freeze on her cheeks. "What are you?" she whispered, the sound barely audible. He looked around at the frozen, silent world and let out a soft, weary sigh. "A repairman," he said simply, "for time." He explained that some places in the world were weak. Places where the fabric of time had thinned over the centuries, like a well-worn piece of cloth. Willow Creek, he said, was one of those places. It was coming undone. "Every few years," he continued, his voice full of a sorrow that seemed ageless, "a price has to be paid. Someone has to be taken, removed from the timeline, so the rest can keep moving forward. It's a correction, a balance. The disappearances weren't random. They were payments," Evelyn begged. She cried real, flowing tears now, the spell of the frozen moment broken by her raw emotion. She promised she would keep his secret, that she would never tell a soul. She just wanted her town, her life, back. Mr. Finch studied her for a long, quiet moment, his ancient eyes seeing something deep within her. Then he said, "You'll remember, but no one will believe you." He snapped his fingers. The sound was like a whip crack. The world lurched forward with a sickening jolt. The sun jumped towards the horizon. The birds resumed their flight, chirping in confusion. The wind rushed back in a sudden gust, and sound returned in a deafening wave. Evelyn woke up in her own bed, the morning sun streaming through her window. The next day, Willow Creek was normal, almost too normal. The abandoned house at the edge of town was empty again, its windows dark and lifeless. The factory whistle blew at exactly 6:30 a.m. The church bells rang precisely at 6 o'clock p.m. The routines were back. But something fundamental had changed. There were fewer people. Not enough for a stranger to notice, but the residents felt it. A few empty desks sat in the classrooms. The diner started closing early for lack of customers. The town felt hollowed out. Willow Creek slowly began to fade, its vibrancy drained away. By 1953, the railroad stopped stopping there altogether. By 1960, the town was completely abandoned, its buildings left to decay, swallowed by the cornfields. Today, if you drive down that long, empty highway, past the spot where Willow Creek once stood, you might notice something odd. Your car radio might crackle with static for a second. Your watch might freeze for a single, skipped beat. And if you happen to stop your car at exactly 6:12 in the evening, you might just see the figure of a man in a brown coat walking down a road that no longer exists. Still fixing time, still collecting the payment. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the shadows.